Cheers. Thank you. So, good morning, all. Today's presentation is a way of introducing both FPA Australia, FPA New Zealand, and FSA to our respective members. And it's probably an important opportunity, I would add, for particularly us in Australia and New Zealand to understand the benefits that will come from a closer working relationship with FSSA, which a couple of years ago we each signed a memorandum of understanding with FSSA, and over probably every 2 or 3 months we come together with FSSA and meet with them regularly, and the discussions are really taking shape, and significant benefit will come from this. So this morning, the nature of the presentation will be, I will be providing a presentation through to the FSA members for them to better understand where FPA Australia and New Zealand sit, and then Stefan from representing FSSA will do a similar presentation for FSA to make representation back through to FPA New Zealand and Australia. So I will just share my screen, gentlemen. All going to plan. If someone just put their thumbs up to let me know that it's been received. Ray Michael, I can see you. Can you see it? Thank you very much. So, good morning. I'm Simon Rickard, FPA Australia's National Technical Manager. It is a pleasure today to provide an overview of FPA Australia and the important role we play in advocating effective fire protection across Australia. Additionally, I would like to acknowledge the strong relationship between FPA Australia and FPA New Zealand, with both associations working closely together to keep fire safety a shared and enduring priority. Guided by this joint vision for safer communities, we work to strengthen standards, support industry capability, and promote better fire safety outcomes. Pleasingly, I only have 4 slides this morning that I will present, which I trust provides you with an overview of the important role that FPA plays when it comes to fire safety. So thank you for this opportunity. FPA Australia is Australia's leading not-for-profit fire protection industry association. We represent more than 30,000 fire protection professionals across approximately 1,750 members organisations nationwide. Our membership is diverse, spanning private industry, government, emergency services, education providers, and technical specialists as well. Sitting at the nexus of fire protection nationally gives FPA Australia a unique and informed perspective on fire safety challenges and their solutions. As an independent and authoritative national voice, the association provides leadership through technical guidance, education, training, and advocacy. Our work supports industry capability, also influencing policy, standards, and best practice. Importantly, everything FPA Australia does is focused on our members and improving community safety by reducing fire risks across Australia. Whether through guidance, documents, professional development, or collaboration with regulators, the association exists to ensure fire protection is effective, it's consistent, and aligned with real-world needs. FPA Australia is committed to safer communities through effective fire protection. Our role is to strengthen the capability and the professionalism of the industry so that loss of life, injury, and damage to property and environment is minimised. We support and represent our members through education, technical leadership, accreditation, advocacy, and career development. By working with governments, business, and industry stakeholders, we help shape the policies, the codes, and the standards that drive better fire protection outcomes for all. Through practical services, the trusted guidance we provide, and strong national leadership with local impact, FPA Australia remains the trusted voice for effective fire protection across Australia. Through our member committees and groups, FPA Australia advances safer communities by strengthening industry capability through our technical leadership, collaboration, and member supports. Our 9 technical advisory committees, the 3 special interest groups as displayed on this screen, bring together the coordinated expertise across active, passive, and special hazard fire systems. Through this strong consultation and stakeholder engagement, we ensure informed, technically sound outcomes that support members, advance fire safety practices, and help deliver higher standards and stronger safeguards nationwide. When it comes to the Australian standards and associated regulations, FPA Australia plays a critical role in shaping the very standards and regulations that underpin fire safety practices across Australia. We actively contribute to more than 35 Standard Australia committees, including the 15 that are showed on your screen now, which align with that of the interests of FSSA. Through this leadership, we help drive national consistency. We strengthen technical credibility and we ensure fire safety standards remain practical, robust, and importantly, fit for purpose. Our involvement also helps standards respond to real-world conditions, the emerging risks that are ever present in our life today, and the changing technologies across the built environment and the broader fire protection industry. I would like to thank you this morning for the opportunity afforded me to provide this quick overview of the important role that FPA Australia plays here in Australia when it comes to fire safety. And trusting that Stefan has joined the webinar, I will hand over to Stefan. How we go, Becca?
Yep, so it looks like he just popped on, and apologies to everyone. He was having some technical difficulties. So
I arrived.
Yeah.
Well done.
Made it.
Well done.
Perfect.
Sorry
You got
about
a
that,
tough one to
everyone.
follow, Stefan.
Stefan, do you need me to share the PowerPoint?
When we get to mine, yeah.
Well, you are up. We're ready to
Nice.
go.
I'm going to stop sharing, guys. There we go.
Okay, Becca, you're going to share the PowerPoint? Becca?
Yep, I'm pulling it up. Sorry,
Okay, cool.
I put
Okay.
myself on mute. Hold on one second.
Anyways, while we're waiting for it, I'm glad everyone's here. It looks like we've got a decent showing, which is good. So, as I said, this partnership's developed quite a bit. So I've been the FSSA ambassador to FPA Australia now for about 3 years running. We've built a pretty good working relationship with FPA Australia. I think there's a lot that goes on both ways. A little about myself. Been in the industry now for right around 11 years. Started off designing commercial water sprinklers. And for the last 7 years, I've done special hazards, gas and foam. And then I also sit on the FSSA board of directors. Next slide. So a little about the FSSA. Our makeup is mostly installers and manufacturers. Manufacturers is our biggest membership chunk, but we also have specifiers, suppliers, students, and associate members in all of that as well. So our last year's forum was around 234 delegates, 316 attendees. We were well over that this year, more like a 350. We contain 18 board members. We have 8 committee chairs, and we have 75 committee members that sit on 40 different NFPA standards. So we have a very big representation in NFPA standards, and we pride ourselves in being the experts and the leading advocates for special hazards. Next. So these are our 2023 through 2025 goals. We just got done rewriting these. They're all very similar. So our vision in total is ensuring sustainable fire protection for people, property, and the environment. We do all of our goals around 3 letters, which is ask, so advocacy, solutions, and knowledge. We are the voice to the membership to monitor as well as influence changes in the industry. We level our technology, an industry network to identify and provide unique solutions. Special hazards are all unique solutions, so we live in a very niche world, but a very important world. Knowledge is also a big key of ours. We provide top-tier educational systems relevant to members and stakeholders. We have to all of our membership, the general training is free. We also offer AMAC compliant training. So in the US, the HFCs are highly regulated. So we provide that training. We're also sort of in an infancy of doing textbooks and some instructional stuff for the industry. We also have a whole mirage of forms and guides, which we'll get into later, that we create as a quick reference guide to the standard. So if people don't have time to read the standard, they get everything they need out of our guides and forms, as well as some additional guidance and interpretations. Next. So under advocacy, our big driver is the codes and the laws. We have joint membership in HARC, which is a regulatory agency centering around fire protection products. Last year, we put in probably 20 or 30 inputs into NFPA codes. We do a full code review 3 times a year for a membership to go to the technical committee meetings. Simon was part of that as he was at our forum and got the full rundown of everything we're doing, which took about all day. Collaboration, this is our big thing of engaging with other organizations in vertical markets to identify challenges, trends, best practices related to around special hazards, but in fire scenarios in general. Our webinars are a key piece of this going forward. We really want to gauge these webinars going forward to focus on areas where we can both share information and then have a Q&A session at the end to discuss the differences and what's going on to increase that knowledge, as well as to spread awareness of changes to systems, to codes, not only domestically, but globally, because all domestic changes ultimately become global. You just got to give them long enough. Monitor is also a key piece of all of that. The FSSA, we do a lot of monitoring and analyzing of the current codes and advise of changes to laws and regulations that impact the codes in the industry. We also try to keep those findings and then transpose those into opportunities to influence and educate others. Next. So then we get into the solutions part. As we're being diligent in all of this and informing our members, the ultimate goal is so we can anticipate global trends and emerging issues. You never want to be behind these code changes, because then you're behind the technology, behind the hazards, behind what's important. And to have that ability to be in front of it is a huge advantage of being part of organizations such as FPA and the FSSA. So one of the things that we've been looking at through the FSSA is alternative product listing services and or trainings to get you the certifications you need. We are a NICET approved organization, so people that do carry in the United States a NICET approval for their technicians, they can come and get registered training hours through us and get FSSA certifications. And it also gives you an opportunity to be in front of the industry audience. So, your problems and issues and knowledge can be shared amongst others and also gained from others in the same industry through collaboration. We have town hall meetings, these webinars, and the FSSA annual forum. Next. So in knowledge, as I said, we do a lot of our own trainings and guides specific to special hazards. As far as I know, we're the only organization that put out a full set of guides related to all special hazard systems and specifically to special hazards. So a lot of this has been covered in previous ones. Next. So trying to give everybody an idea of what we do here. So on FSSA's website, free to everyone, you can see our NFPA representation. So Becky, if you want to click that top link there, I kind of wanted to give everyone on the call, especially the FPA Australia folks, an idea of all the different standards that we have influences in.
I will reshare my screen in one moment once it pulls up.
So on the screen, you can see everything that we're part of. So NFPA 3 and 4 to commissioning, to testing, to telecommunications, gaseous fire systems, fire safety systems, foam, hanging and bracing of these systems, merchant, wet, dry chem, water additives, semiconductors, aircraft hangars, cannabis growing facilities, finishing processes, laboratories using chemicals, water mist systems, hybrid systems, the National Signaling Code, electrical generating plants, ESS systems, BESS systems, testing and maintenance of fire alarms, initiating devices, remote inspections. And this list just continues to go on and on and on, from aerosols to fire code action committees. This is kind of where our strong suit is. Anything that could affect even the periphery of special hazards we get into. I know FPA Australia does dovetail NFPA in a lot of ways. So hopefully these meetings will also help you guys, understand some of our code impacts as we go through various topics. This can also give FPA Australia a chance to have a voice in some of these committees as well through us. If they have any data or input that we have, would welcome that and try to help you guys in any way that we can if we have representation on these committees and we can review data and reports and help take all this knowledge and put it all into these standards so it benefits all of us. Yeah, and then once PowerPoint gets pulled back up, Becca's going to have to open up another link. But one thing that we've been doing too is, so outside of these webinars, the FSSA and FPA have been meeting regularly. We try to do every 2 months, it ends up being about every 3. We actually just had a regular meeting on Tuesday. And we go over various topics, what's affecting us, what's not, how to better the organizations, what one organization can use from another. And we put all these meeting notes on our website to the public. So you can go in and see what's going on, the collaboration between FPA Australia, FPA New Zealand, and the FSSA. We have a whole link on our website where these meeting notes are kept. Beck, I owe you some of them that go back further than the ones that you have. I just haven't had time to PDF them for you, but all that's there. So both memberships can see that, see what's going on. If you're in the FSSA, you can reach out to me or Peter Hallinan. And if there's some topics you want us to discuss with them, we'd be more than happy to. Same with FPA. Simon's been on a lot of the meetings. So if you read those and see things that you've got questions about, be more than happy to include those or even include others into those regular meetings. They're actually some of my favorite meetings to have once every couple of months because it turns into an industry discussion that is kind of interesting because the same issues we're having, everybody else is having. So it's kind of interesting to have that data share back and forth. And then the other thing that we are working on, that we will be working on, there's, our board's approved it, is at some point we're going to produce a special hazards textbook that'll be used in universities, centered specifically on special hazards. There's a lot of interest for it here in the US. And I know that's something that Simon and NFPA has indicated that could even be used in Australia. And putting that together, because there's not a lot of, you go to a lot of the universities, they teach sprinkler systems and fire dynamics and water systems, and there's not a whole collection on these special hazard systems. A lot of times these are learned technologies. So if you're in the industry and you're in the companies that use them, you know them very well. But if you're not, it is a niche market that is growing more and more popular as technology advances. Um, we get away from traditional hazards and into high rack storage and all the other ASRS energy storage systems. We're creating more and more hazards that have to be special hazards and have to have their own unique challenges that have to be addressed. So to have that textbook so that the next generation of fire protection engineers and firefighters have a tool that they can use as a reference and learn from will be a huge advantage. It's definitely something that the collaboration from us and international organizations will be very instrumental in building and ensuring that it educates the next generation in the proper ways. As part of the FSSA, we do have a technical committee that's got many task groups. Some of the stuff that's ongoing right now is the small cabinet protection. We're doing the NFPA changes to mimic what ISO is doing on a world scale. Room pressurization and integrity white paper we're currently writing. These white papers are really based on guidance. So deep fat fryer protections, gas detectors. We have a foam fact sheet. So the next webinar that we'll have in a couple of months, the plan is to focus on foam, where we go through our fact sheet and FPA goes through your document. I don't remember what it's called.
A series of information bulletins. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So the next webinar will be focusing on that, where we go through our foam fact sheet and the information that we're giving. Simon and his team will present what they have, and then we'll just open it up to the general audience to ask questions about either document and what either side of the world is doing. There is a task group right now to look at high voltage extinguishing concentrations. That'll be for over 480 volts, which are becoming more and more prevalent with superchargers and EVs and UAVs and drones. Expanded flammable fuel guidance is for foam and gases in there. We also have a series of publications and guides and forms that the technical committee manages and updates regularly. There is a 20% discount for any of those guides through FPA Australia with the MOU that we have in place, and some white papers. So Becca, if you could open the links, kind of give them a preview of what we offer from forms and guides, and kind of show them the white papers are free for anyone. So FPA Australia, you can go in there now and download any of those for free. The guides and forms, of course, you've got to purchase. You can do either PDF or hard copies of those. And some of the guides even come with software, such as the venting guide. It comes with its own software that is referenced in NFPA. So as I said, these guides are designed, they're based on NFPA standards, but they are a comprehensive. So some of them are inspection forms. So we create hard-coded inspection forms that are compliant with current code. So you buy that, you don't have to work through creating your own inspection forms. They're created for you. Guides are in here for hybrid water and gas systems, clean agents, CO2, suppression systems, containers and hoses. The pipe design handbook is based on the ASME boiler pressure code, but instead of you having to run all the numbers, we've tabulated all the pipes for you. So if you know what pressure you're at, you can know for certain what pipes you've got to use. We've got detection and control guides that'll be compliant to NFPA 72, CO2 design guides, carbon dioxide guides, as I've said. We're working on aerosol guides currently. They're not on the website, but they are under works. Clean agents, water mist guide. So if you're using water mist, and as you can see, these are much cheaper than buying the standard, and they'll give you the synopsis without having to read a 400-page document, which is the goal. So as I said, Simon, I know you guys have those discount codes for that 20% discount. I don't know how you work those, but anyone from FPA can go in and purchase any of these for assistance. If you do, I know there's been some topics of like pressure venting. We have our own software that comes with the guide too. So you can use that if you're under NFPA jurisdictions. It's very similar to ISO as well. So it'll also get you there. These are the white papers that Becca's showing that we have for free. So these you don't even need a login or purchase. You just download your free copy. You just have to put in your information. Wet collections. That was actually a really interesting one because most people don't think about those as you walk into a museum, and what we mean by wet collections are all those great creatures that are sitting in jars of formaldehyde or whatever other goo they're in that's highly flammable. We've done a huge FSSA FIA joint study on the effects of high airflow, which is your hot and cool aisles and servers and clean agents. And then we've got our FSSA foam fact sheet there for free download that we'll go through in the next one. We've done a lot of testing with sound waves on data centers, and then some of the older climate stuff. But as I said, those are free for the taking. They're knowledge that's out there to enhance the industry as a whole. So some of the future collaboration that we hope to have and will be having. So there's so we've got an FSSA expert who actually happens to be the chair of NFPA 855, who will be helping out FPA Australia with their best special interest group. We're working on an international research project between the FSSA, FIA, and hopefully FPA Australia. They'll look at the pressure venting guide, which is the new ISO standard 28105. Problem there is there's no real world data. All the inert gas calculations are based on empirical numbers only. So the goal of that study is to put some numbers behind it to ensure those formulas are right and to have a test protocol to verify them. And then FPA Australia has been actively participating in some FSSA task groups related to small area to create the NFPA public input that was submitted for this cycle of NFPA 2001. This is just a start. As we keep going, the integration will be much better. I know Simon's mentioned that have some TAC 11 involvement in our forums for FPA Australia to join with us in some of our special hazards work. And we do a lot of side-by-side work with reviewing and going through FM data sheets and seeing some of the advanced stuff that's going on there. So hopefully we can bring all that into FPA Australia. So that's all that I have. This is meant to be a kind of an intro to both organizations. But yeah, Simon, do you have anything else to add before we open it up for questions?
No. And as you said, Stefan, I attended the forum recently, and having spent the last couple of years meeting with yourself every couple of months, I could really, the 5-day forum, I could really see a lot of synergies that exist between both associations, and particularly FPA Australia and New Zealand being able to benefit significantly from the significant work that FSA has done over the years. We have our TAC 1122 in special hazards, and I was incredibly enthusiastic at the prospect of being able to support that TAC even more so than FPA have previously by getting them involved with yourself and FSA, Stefan. I think there's a significant upside, and I have no doubt the FPA and New Zealand members today have seen an opportunity themselves, and I would encourage the members to support both myself and also Scott in New Zealand as to how we might take further advantage of this closer relationship between the associations, because there's significant upside and a wonderful opportunity for all. So appreciate it, Stefan. Thank you.
Yep. So anyone have any questions about either organization? We're open to any suggestions or questions about things we've been working on, things that may benefit you. Right now we're looking at, for the next couple webinars, starting with foam. There's definitely going to be one on energy, one on room integrity. So those are the 3 that we've thought of now, but we're open to any ideas or any questions for either organization.
Stefan, this is Tim Ewens from Australia here. I didn't see NFPA 20 on any of your guides there.
Remind me which one that is. I don't recognize that one off the top of my head.
There's
Fire
pumps.
pumps.
Fire pumps.
Fire pumps. We don't traditionally do much with that. We do some with foam pumps through NFPA 409. But that is definitely one that our organization really hasn't done too much with, as that sits a little bit more on the mainstream water side. It's definitely one that I think I'll bring up to Kevin Kelly to see if we want to get some representation on. At this current moment, we don't.
Fair enough.
And you mentioned research, Stephen. Obviously, that's FSSA play a significant role when it comes to sort of research.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, so one of our goals, our new goals moving forward, is to have consistent research being done. We spent a year and a half doing the high airflow study to give people guidance on protecting server rooms when you're not turning off that HVAC. Does it hurt you? Does it help you? How to place your nozzles. The venting will be another research project. The high voltage will be a research project. There's a lot of this stuff that in theory, how to protect, but there's no numbers behind it. And you look at the tests and you're questioning if they're valid. When you get into special hazards, you need to have the numbers. How does high voltage affect your concentrations or your foam needed or things like that? It's not intuitive. You have to test it to find it. And that's critical to us to be that expert. You can't be an expert unless you actually know the numbers and know how the tests are performed, and if the case, write the standard on how to test it.
And as you said, there's a sort of ongoing discussions between FPA Australia and intern FPA New Zealand, and also FIA out of the UK. So there's a wonderful opportunity for those associations, but equally there's also an opportunity for our members who are suitably motivated to want to also join those discussions as well. Mm-hmm. So that it helps support FPA in our representation back through to yourself as well. So would encourage our members to look for opportunities and perhaps make their sort of suggestions as to where they feel their own strengths might align with what we've spoken about today and how they can contribute. Because one of the takeaways from my time at the forum was that just the number of organisations who are present in your industry there in the US who are present in Australia, and is even from that perspective is there that we can perhaps have engagement at a local level with the manufacturers and so forth, so that further strengthens the collaborative approach that will benefit us all.
Yeah, and when you talk, the research and using that research to change code, having multiple organizations behind it adds significant weight to the research. I've sat in so many standards meetings where you sit there and one company brings in research and another company brings in research, and it's not quite the same. And when you come into the report that's got two or three different organizations in it, it carries significant weight because it's almost equivalent to a peer-reviewed journal article. It's multiple people have collaborated on this, and it's a general conclusion from more than one globally recognized organization.
Yeah. And you saw also
excellent. Okay, I look forward to looking at some of that as well, though. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, circling back on the NFPA battery standard, my apologies. I must have said NFPA 200. It is NFPA 800 is the new battery code. 200 is the hanging and bracing standard. My apologies if I stated that wrong.
Stefan, just in regards to, and Frank mentioned about training, obviously there's, and you referenced the sort of the training and the education that yourselves have developed over the years. And I see that as a significant opportunity for FPA Australia and New Zealand to both leverage off that and look at how that might be able to be reviewed at a local level in both of our countries to see how we could assist with that and benefit from that. And in addition to that, obviously FPA Australia run an accreditation association scheme here in Australia that can also, and I know when we met in the US recently, that's an area of interest for FSSA, where collectively the two-way sort of communication might be able to benefit both of our associations, or the three associations.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we created all the inspection form guides, because there's always been that knowledge of like, how do you inspect a system? How do you do it safely? How do you inspect a cylinder? And that was a reason that we created a lot of those guides, so that you can hand it to somebody who doesn't do this very often, and they're not going to miss anything. It's not system specific, but it's generic. But that's definitely something that you guys can take, and we can work with you to massage it and understand what's specific to your market that's not in ours. Because those are a very valuable tool to have available.
And look, I might actually, Scott Lawson, the president of FPA New Zealand, I know he's on the call. If Scott perhaps wanted to give a New Zealand perspective, Scott, to put you under the pump and get you.
Yeah, good one, Simon. You're just checking to make sure I was listening, weren't you?
I was just waking up. I realised it's mid-morning for you, so thank you. You've passed the test.
Mid-morning, we're coming up to lunchtime. Firstly, thanks, Simon, Stefan. I think that the New Zealand contingent, which I see looking through the list of attendees, is actually pretty solid. So I think that's a really positive, and there's clearly a demand in New Zealand to get access to further information and resources. So, I won't repeat a lot of the comments that you guys have already gone through, but I think that if I could talk firstly to the New Zealand contingent that are here, I would encourage you all to consider today as the introductory meeting, just to bring you up to speed with some of the collaborations that have been going on in the background. Stefan, I think I met you coming up to about a year ago, and we had some discussions, and we would like to link New Zealand into this mix, which is why we're obviously doing that today. And for our New Zealand members, the close association we're having with FPA Australia kind of makes sense, right? So if you link Australia and New Zealand together, and then obviously in with FSSA, I think it makes sense. Fire protection is a very small niche sector industry anyway, and of course specialty type suppression is an even smaller sector of that. So for my New Zealand members, we can't go around reinventing the wheel. What we should be doing is working with organisations as we are today to try and make sure that we actually leverage work that's being done, training material, content, research, all of those things that were discussed today. So I certainly, on behalf of the New Zealand people, which, as I say, there's a fairly reasonable contingent here today, would like to thank you guys for putting this on. I think, obviously, as we say, the next set of meetings that we're going to try and do will actually go into some more technical aspects. So, again, for New Zealand members, you'll get a bit more notice. There'll be, quite clear, specific technical parts to those meetings. So some of you that I see online today, there'll be some of those topics that won't be of interest at all, and some that will. So we'll encourage to invite you along. And as I say, probably the next one would be, as you've seen, would be to offer up some of you, without calling out your names, but I'm looking at the list of participants here. You know who you are in New Zealand. And we do have Phil Lacey, who is certainly one of the nominated people that's going to be working in this group, but there are others there that could help make sure we represent New Zealand with FPA Australia and through back to, obviously, the trio of collaboration. So that's probably about it, Simon. I think we appreciate you helping bring us in with FPA Australia. Stefan, we appreciate, obviously, those initial discussions that we had to bring New Zealand into the mix. We make up a small part, but we have some very good specialists here in New Zealand as well that I'm sure want to contribute and hear what's happening in the rest of the world. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. So no, I echo exactly what you said there. I think the New Zealand members, the Australian members, they have a significant contribution that I think FSA would welcome. and I know I'm looking for our support, like as you said, Scott, where there's areas of interest in particular subjects that those people get involved because of it's so specialised, and the knowledge is critical to ensure that it's the most informed discussion possible. So hopefully our membership will get behind these efforts.
Yeah, and I mean it's just the collaboration's huge. You know, in a niche market, you've all got to work together to make sure that you cover all the aspects of it, and to make sure nothing's missed, and to fully grasp what's going on. Yeah, I mean, I thank everyone for joining. I mean, this is a fantastic turnout. I think I've seen up to 84 on the meeting invite, which is, I don't know, Becca, that's one of our highest attended ones for a little bit. That's all that I have. Are there any more questions out there? Yes, I see one hand up.
Hello, Stefan. Ihab here from FPA Australia. Thank you, and thank you, Simon, for organizing this. I'm particularly impressed by the inspection guides, and I certainly would love to see an Australian customized version of that, because obviously we have to comply to our standards. And while yours is built understandably around the NFPA, we would like to build something in particular to the Australian standards of that version. And actually, that's to touch on Frank's question as well on the sharing knowledge with the industry. I mean, I will speak for FPA Australia. We're more than happy to share the venting calculations. They are open forms, they're open calculators, and everyone benefits from doing the right thing or actually installing the right size. It's not proprietary in the sense that it's in-house knowledge. Yes, it's based on the hydraulic calculation software, but these formulas that calculate the vents are open source, and we're more than happy to share them.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that'll help tremendously.
So look, Stefan, hopefully we've sort of ignited the interest of our collective membership. And I know from my perspective with our relevant people who are here today from Australia, I hope that they can support FPA to further the closer working relationship between the three associations. And I look for them for the guidance and support to help me make appropriate representation on their behalf, and to ensure that special hazards just moves forward in leaps and bounds here in Australia on the back of this closer working relationship. So thank you very much, Stefan, for the opportunity, and also to the FPA Australia members. Thank you ever so much for accepting the invitation this morning, and I trust that we go from strength to strength from here on in.
Yep, I want to echo that. I mean, thanks everyone for joining and for being willing to collaborate within this field. I mean, this is, to me, one of the best kind of fields within fire protection, because of the amount of collaboration that goes on. I mean, we even see it on our end, as manufacturers, the amount of information that we put out in the open instead of keeping behind closed doors to educate people. It is a special field, and to see this happen on a global scale, I think is a huge step in the right direction.
Nice one.
Awesome. Well, just as a reminder, this was recorded, so we'll have the recording available both on the FPA website and the FSSA website. And keep an eye out for the next webinar that we're going to be doing together. So thank you, everyone. Have a great evening or day.
Thank you. Thanks, Becca. Appreciate the support. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thanks all.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye.